Hi, I'm Chris. I'm the founder and CEO of Grove. We grow up in a society where debt is something that, often feels so burdensome and so terrible and something no one wants. One thing that's kind of changed over time is that, debt used to be something you would take on from a banker at a bank or a friend or a family member. And so you kind of feel this accountability and it makes it very personal and maybe more emotional. If I look back at my grandparents or sometimes even my parents, the connotation of owing someone else money has really, evolved. There are a lot of reasons that debt can be bad and certainly gets a lot of people into trouble, but there's probably also some reasons that debt can be good. If I think about the reasons to take on debt, there are a few things that I'll highlight. One, if you're using it to increase your earning potential, that could be investing in yourself, your education, new skills, could be investing in a business that you're starting. All those could be super valuable. Another thing to think about is when it makes real economic sense. So if you were purchasing something that offered 0% APR, you could take that debt on and invest the money that you would have otherwise used to pay for it. So if you're opening up a high yield savings account that's going to pay 2.5%, and you can borrow money at 0%, it actually just makes economic sense to do that. Another reason it might make sense to take on debt is to help build your credit. A really important thing in advance of buying a home or any other major financing purchase could be to improve your credit. A typical rule of thumb is that if you can get your credit above around 720, you end up getting the best rates. There are a lot of components that go into your credit score. One of them is the number of different types of debt you have, how long you've had them, and your payoff history. So it could make sense to take on a new type of debt for the purpose of building your credit, but I'd really want to make sure that you go into that with a plan to pay it off, and it's not just something you're doing for that purpose. Things like a mortgage might not actually be a bad reason to take on debt, given the low interest rates, the tax deductibility. It's not always a bad thing. Now, again, if it causes you stress or anxiety, it's probably not a good move, but economically it might make sense. Just because it's easy isn't a reason to do it. But if it's easy and you have a plan, or it furthers your, ability to earn, or it makes your lifestyle better or reduces your anxiety, like all of those things kind of have compounded to make it a little bit more accessible and maybe not as stressful and burdensome. There's this terrible connotation of debt in society that it's horrible and you never want to be in debt. But the reality is most people end up in some form of debt regularly, whether it's buying a home or a car or, spending money on a credit card or, taking out student loans. So, the concept of debt shouldn't actually be scary. The problem with debt is that sometimes you might have a credit card at 20% interest. And if you don't have a plan to pay that off, that interest can compound over time and, can really leave you in a bad situation. Debt can be a tool to further lots of things. That could be your income, could be your aspirations or your goals. It could be your finances because it actually makes economic sense. I think it's really important that you're not going into it blind and just using it as a crutch because you can't afford something.